fellow carbon-based bipeds. I am Scott Rose, and you are watching Explosions and Stuff. Today, I'll be reviewing the 2009 film Damage, starring Steve Austin, Walton Goggins, Laura Vandervoort, and Donnelly Rhodes. But first, a word from our sponsors. An overview of the movie. After being released from prison, John Brickner is confronted by the wife of the man he killed. It turns out she wrote the parole board and helped him get released early so she could force him to help pay for the heart transplant her 8-year-old daughter needs. Backed into a corner, Brickner finds that his only chance of getting the money he needs in time is to participate in an underground fight ring. The pros of this movie? Well, I thought the characters in this movie were very well written. Seriously, all the main characters of this movie were very deep. They were developed very well. Yes, there were some characters who were just nothing more than a plot device, but you get that in every movie. I mean, you had John Brickner, who was this ex-con. He was a tough guy who didn't take any crap from anybody, but he had a heart of gold. He wanted to help people. He was kind and he was caring. He wasn't just some mindless meathead who's going about beating the crap out of people. You had Reno, who was his manager, who seemed like a sleazeball, but actually was a really nice and caring guy. All the main characters of this movie were really deep. They were really developed, and they were just fantastically written and portrayed. Also, the fight scenes in this movie were very exciting. You know, there was a wide range of arenas. At some points, they were fighting on top of the trailers for 18-wheelers. Sometimes they were fighting in swimming pools, in a parking lot surrounded by cars, at a dock on a pier, all sorts of different places. The fight scenes were fantastic, and there was a lot of variety to them, and they were so much fun to watch. Also, this movie does not waste any time whatsoever getting into it. I mean, they start with everything from the beginning of the movie onwards is necessary to the movie. They just go right into it. They develop the characters. They show the fights. They have it all working out, just being fantastic, and really get you a feel for this character and for all the characters in the movie and what's going on in the story. And they don't waste any time with meaningless nonsense. The cons of this movie? Well, you know how I just said that this movie doesn't waste any time getting into stuff? Well, that's true. But they also take a lot of time in getting to the first fights. And let me explain that a little bit. The most of the beginning of this movie, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of this movie, is character development. And it's necessary character development, but it's still character development. I mean, you have you see these characters, you see them as human, you see them interacting with others, how they live, what kind of people they are. They establish that right away, get that out of the way, and then they have fight scenes, and they get into the fights. You know, you see that he's backed into this corner, and that he's running out of options. That Brickner has to do what he has to do to get the money to save this child's life. And then you find out then you're introduced to the fight scenes, and you realize that is his only option, is to fight in these underground arenas and take part in these underground fights. That's his only hope, his only chance of getting the money that he needs to get for this child's heart transplant. But as a result of that, it takes a while to get to the fights, which means for the first few minutes, you're like, okay, when's the fighting going to start? I'm sitting here waiting, give me some fights, come on. Also, I thought this movie was predictable. I'm sitting here the whole movie just like, okay, this is going to happen, and that person's going to say this thing, and I was right. And just a lot of stuff in this movie was really predictable. I was like, yeah, I was calling things before they even happened. And I'm sorry, but that really does take me out of the movie, because instead of enjoying the movie when it's that predictable, I'm saying like, okay, I predict this is going to happen. Let's see if I'm right. And that's what I'm doing the whole time I'm watching this movie, is seeing if I'm right about my predictions for this movie. Sometimes I was wrong, which was great. I love it when I'm wrong when I make predictions about movies, because that means it's more original. But at the same time, when it gets to that point where I can do that, it kind of takes me out of it. But the biggest issue I had with this movie is that this movie was made in 2009, but I remember watching it 20 years ago. The only difference was, 20 years ago, when I watched it, it was starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it was called Lionheart. I've seen this movie before. I've seen it lots of times before. This story is very common. It's something that's redone and reshot and retold over and over and over again. I've seen this story more times than I can count. It's starting to get old. Come up with something new, please. My overall thoughts on the movie? To be honest, I didn't expect this movie to be as good as it was. I give it 2 thumbs up. I went in expecting another Lionheart remake, but this one made me care about the characters more than any other Lionheart remake I've ever seen. Even more than the original Lionheart did. It is a little slow to get to the fights, but that character development is critical to the movie. If you're a fan of hand-to-hand combat fighting movies, then you need to check out Damage. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel for new action movie reviews posted every week and top 10 lists posted on the 10th of every month. Also, if you have any recommendations for things you would like me to cover in the future, please leave them in the comments below and follow us on Twitter at explosions_TV. Thank you and have a nice day.